In an age in which terrorist attacks are becoming more frequent and more lethal, an attack on the United States that releases radiation, the explosion of a dirty bomb or improvised nuclear device, is a frightening and very real threat. Such a radiological assault would aim to inflict mass casualties, widespread panic and disruption, and could cause contamination that lasts for months or even years after the initial event. U.S. government agencies at the state, local, and federal levels are preparing for such an event and have been rehearsing the emergency responses that would occur immediately after such an attack. But how would we cope with the aftermath of the event? What could we do to recover from its longer-term consequences? The long-term recovery lessons learned from the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear plant disaster help to answer these questions. The Soviet response to that disaster and the analyses that followed give us insights into what does and doesn't work in responding to such a situation. In this film, we will examine the basics of what a radiological attack on the United States would involve, and what the countermeasures and restoration actions taken after the Chernobyl accident tell us about what we might expect following such an event. We will enhance our discussion with the first-hand personal perspectives of an early responder who provided technical assistance during the first phases of the recovery from Chernobyl, and of a resident of Kiev who was a young mother in Ukraine at the time of the disaster. Dr. John Cardarelli, an industrial hygienist and health physicist with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, explains why it is useful to focus on Chernobyl.
Chernobyl brings us a unique perspective in the fact that it was a real-life situation where hundreds of thousands of square kilometers were contaminated with radioactive material that had been dispersed from the reactor accident. And it exposed hundreds of thousands of humans, requiring a large amount of environmental cleanup. So what we can learn from those aspects and apply them here in the United States could be very valuable if we were to ever experience something similar to that here in the United States.
By improving public awareness and helping people to educate themselves on the issues associated with a possible radiological emergency, we will not only be better prepared, but the power of such an event to terrorize our citizens can be greatly reduced.